Hey you guys, we are starting another new little series here, which is going to be a speed run on Lichess. And I'm actually starting from 600 rating on Lichess. So basically what we're looking for here is I'm trying to spot the most basic errors that beginners will tend to make. All right, as we work through from the beginner level up to 1500 or so on Lichess. Now obviously Lichess is also very different to chess.com in terms of rating. It's a lot lower. So here my opponent has simply hung a pawn. All right, so I can go ahead and capture that. The pawn wasn't defended in the first place. This is the Petrov defense, or the Russian. And here both pawns are actually in danger. Okay, now I just decided to protect my own pawn, but black failed to do the same thing, so it's simply a case of oh, and now he's captured the pawn but hung his knight. Okay, so I can just take that. Okay, so again you can see he's also moving now a developed piece a second time. I also have to do that, but my knight's there for a good reason, because I grabbed free stuff. Always good. So I'm going to retreat my knight and put it on a square where it is defended. This bishop move here was completely unnecessary. You know, he's opened up his king. He's also, I guess, created a line for his queen to come out, but also he's failed to develop any of his other material here, so I'm going to carry on with, oops, okay, so he's given me a check. Now I can push c3 with tempo if I wish, but I can also just develop my bishop. There's no real reason to, I think one of the key things for beginners is going to be only push pawns when you've got a very good reason to do it. And here I can achieve the same thing, which is getting out of check, with a developing move as well. So, and again, he's moved his bishop now, I think, a fourth time. Right, so now I'm just going to carry on with basic development. Now my opponent's moved his king, which means he's lost castling rights. I guess he was trying to get his king off of this semi-open file, but okay. Now I want to complete my development, so I've got choices of where to put my bishop. Here, both look good. I'm going to stick it here. It's a tall pawn, but it's adding an extra defender to this this pawn on e4. And now I want to get my queen off the back rank, and I want to castle my king. I'll probably castle long in this case. Again, this move achieves nothing, and he's actually completely undefended this pawn on h7 as well. So, okay, let's castle. So all just very, very basic principles here. I've done nothing clever. And this is a pawn push, but actually he's now cut off his only route to get his light squared bishop into the game. So what do we do now? We're in the middle game. Okay, I've completed development. My opponent has not completed development. He has moved his king over here. He's going to have trouble getting that rook into the game. So now what I want to do is improve my pieces. Particularly knights might want to make their way over towards the enemy king. And I want to give him things to think about. Another idea here, because we've got an opposite side king situation. I can't say opposite side castling because my opponent failed to castle. But he has moved, he spent one move moving his king, another move moving his rook. Yeah, it's really bizarre what's going on. So another idea is to start throwing pawns up the board. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to, yeah, I think I'll just put pawns up. So here I've counted attackers and defenders. There's 2 attackers on this square, but I have 2 defenders as well, so that's all right. Now he's played a decent move. He's moved his knight. However, okay, he's 2 defenders on there as well, so similar situation. I think what I'm going to do now is simply keep moving pawns up. And now he's undeveloped his own knight. That's just plain weird. Okay, so what do? I want to advance up the board. I'm happy to trade material if and now he's moved his knight again. Go figure. Go figure. So, I mean, this guy's 700 on Lichess, which is absolute beginner kind of level. Okay, nothing clever. Let's just keep moving pawns up the board. Not going to get all tactical, and he's moved his rook again. So you can see definitely a common theme here is making completely unnecessary piece moves, moving developed pieces multiple times. So I'll come back here, I'm still defending this pawn twice now. And that just hangs the rook. Okay, so if you're a beginner, really focusing on before you drop a piece anywhere, say, is that a completely stupid move? Right? Can my piece be captured there? And here he's just hung a knight. Okay. So he's well behind. I've lost a pawn. Lost 1 pawn, and so is my opponent. Okay, he's attacking my rook. So let's move the rook. Where do I want to move it? I'm going to move it in line with my enemy's king. And I probably want to get my bishop out of trouble at some point soon. Or I may just keep throwing pawns at him. I've got all the material now, so I think it's a case of just throw pawns up the board. Need to watch out for this diagonal, of course. Okay, I don't know what that move achieves. Right, so just carry on with the plan. Actually, this pawn was hanging just then, so I'm going to move that pawn. Because I've moved my rook away and also my knight. So these pawns are actually in my way right now. So I'm quite happy to... Now here I'm going to break a rule and capture away from the centre, but the reason is because I want to open up the file that my opponent's king is on. One thing he could think about doing is this. Move the pawn forward to trap my bishop in the corner. And again, this just undefends a pawn. So I can just capture that. I'm going to capture it with this knight. And my knights want to make progress now towards this guy. Alright, he's attacking my knight. I'm going to put my knight here, where it can be taken, but it's defended by a pawn. Again, moving another pawn out of the way of Kingy over here. And then we may even have a basic checkmating idea, which I can do now. So I'm threatening mate in 1. I don't even have to recapture the bishop just now, and we'll deliver checkmate there. Okay, so there you go. That's given me 25 rating points. Should we do another one? And yes, indeed, let's do another 10-minute rapid. Again, we were right at the beginner level, and my purpose here is not to kind of shame beginners, but to spot what mistakes do beginners tend to make. And we've already identified a bunch. This guy's rated 818, and what the flipping buggery bollocks is that? A4. Okay, so I'm going to move my central pawns because we're going to play principled. Next, I'm going to develop my knights because knights before bishops. So the purpose of all of this, yes, it's to help beginners. This pawn is defended, so I'm going to move my king side minor pieces in preference to my queen side. So yeah, the purpose of one of my ideas here, that's now under attack, I need to defend it, so I'll defend with development, is we really want to make Chess Bootcamp live. This is our kind of training program that I'm running with 3 other coaches. We want to make it really, really useful. So to be able to identify specifically exactly what do beginner players, like 500 level players, need to do to get to 600. And then when you're at 600, how do you get to 700, 800? When you're at 800, how do you get beyond 1,000 and stuff like that? And really try and break it down. So I'm wanting to understand a bit better the specific aspects of what beginners face and what they tend to do wrong. Now this guy's playing okay. He's just made a couple of crazy ass moves at the start. So now I want to get my queen off the back rank and I want to castle. There's a good case for saying castle first before developing the queen, or castle as quickly as you can. And now I've completed development exactly on move 8, which is the quickest that you can do it. And what's the purpose of this move? It's hard to tell. Okay, now I've castled, I've completed development, and my opponent has not yet castled. So what we do here is, strategically, I want to centralize my rooks. That's the cherry on the cake. And I want to start busting through in the middle. Not worried about that pawn, it's protected. I'm going to attack the knight. Okay, now under normal situations, there'd be a risk of the pawn coming forward and locking up the center. But we're not worried about that now, because this move attacks 2 pieces, so he's got to respond to that move. Alright, so he's captured here, he's just hung his own knight. This is a potential threat, but that is covered by my knight. So I think we carry on gobbling stuff up in the middle. I'm going to capture here with a pawn because it comes with the threat of taking the knight, so it's more forcing. This pawn is hanging because he threw it up the board on his first move and then moved his rook out of the way, so he's undefended it. Okay, and now he's moved his knight backwards. That actually blocks the rook's defense of that pawn there. So what do we want to do now? My opponent's king is in the middle of the board. I want to open up the middle of the board, so I'm going to advance my knight and I'm just going to start throwing my f-pawn at him now. Throwing pawns. What's not to like? There is a hanging pawn here, of course, as well. Right, he's attacking my knight. So I'll just advance my knight again on a square where it's defended. And my knight could then come in here and check my opponent with a fork on king and rook. Happy days. Or could I even capture that and attack his queen? Queen's got 2 squares. Yeah. My knight's defended by my bishop. I'm going to carry on with my original plan and just keep throwing pawns up the board. See how many moves this knight has made as well. Now, when you move your pieces onto silly squares, then that's when you end up having to move them again a lot of the time. Really, we all should be focusing on making as few piece moves as possible, but develop all of your pieces, but to put them on sensible squares. Squares where they're defended, ideally by pawns. Okay, that's a completely pointless move. Right, defends these 2, I guess, but... So now what do? Do I capture here or do I push on? Let's push on. Again, it comes with... It's a forcing move. My opponent's going to have to respond. Okay, I'm going to capture there. And if the bishop takes, my knight can still come in with a threat. Yeah, if the bishop were to go back, I know I don't have the smothered mate idea. Okay, so I have a check here. Let's throw in the check. And then I think I'll put my bishop here. Well, Well, my knight's now under attack technically, so let's move this bishop and defend the knight. Then I might have an idea about putting this bishop here, which will force an exchange. And if the bishop captures, queen recaptures. Okay, interesting. But he can't capture that with the rook. He's attacking it twice. I'm defending it twice. Rook takes, queen takes with check, and the king can't recapture because it would still be in check from the rook. Never done a speed run before. It's quite fascinating, really. At this point in time, I'm actually up 1 point of material. Alright, so he's now moved his knight, which is a decent move because he's defending his bishop and he's attacking mine. So do I capture here? This is a tricky move. Comes with check, and the pawn can't recapture because it's pinned by the rook. Do we want to be tricky? Let's trade bishops first. Oh! Oh! You took with a king? Dude, seriously? Right, I have checks with rook or queen or knight. Right, keep your things simple. I'll use the rook. If the king goes back here, I no longer have that knight check because I've just moved the rook out of the way. Okay. I'm going to move my knight here. My opponent is in quite a lot of trouble here, even though he's not really behind in the material sense. Okay, I'm going to put my queen here. I'm threatening to come in there, which would be checkmate. I'm also threatening to capture this pawn with check as well. So again, definitely, okay, he's missed the threat there, and that's mate. Okay, and again, a very, very common issue. Let's do one more for the road. Yeah, so just missing the checkmate threat again is too typical. Okay, here we've got black, and let's see what our opponent does. E4, fantastic. We have a classical beginning. Again, opponent here is rated 673. So again, that pawn is under attack, and I'm going to defend with knight c6, and he's blundered. Straight out of the blocks, again. Absolutely no need. Apart from anything else, there's no need. He shouldn't even be thinking about moving this knight. Right? A second time. So he's moved, and... Right, so he's attacking my knight. That's absolutely fine. We don't have to worry about this. There are a few ways to defend. I can't move the pawn because I'll be in check. The pawn is pinned. I could move this pawn, I could move the bishop, or I could move the queen. Let's put the queen here. Generally, we should try and use develop minor pieces before major pieces. Okay, he's moved Freddy, which ain't the smartest thing in the world. So I'm going to move my knight out of the way of the pawn. Pawn is now actually hanging. That's undefended. That's undefended. Very important to identify any undefended pieces. Okay, now I can actually capture this pawn outright. And I don't see any reason not to, so goodbye pawn. I've now got two attackers on this pawn as well. So, again, simply not seeing what's undefended. I mean, this pawn is undefended on white side. Okay, he's now brought out a bishop. I can hit the bishop if I wish. Bishop can't take there. I've also got got a6 as well if I want to do that, or I can simply do this and force an exchange of queens, because I'm hitting the queen, the king, and the bishop all at once. I could even capture that with the knight if I did not want to exchange queens. I can also come in here with check, and we're only on move 7 of the game. Okay, so I don't think I want to take the queens off the board just yet, so let's throw in this check. He can block with the queen, he can block with the bishop, or he can run away. Those are his only options. Also forking an undefended pawn here, and another one there. So free stuff, what's not to like? Let's grab that one. And now I'm threatening the rook that's undefended. The rook goes there, I can simply take it. It has to go there. Correct. Okay. Now what do we do? Now we carry on development. Now I can't put my knight here because of that pawn. I could move my queen back and have another look at this pawn, another look at that pawn, and pin that bishop all over again. Okay. So you have done this. I can force an exchange of queens with check there. I can grab a pawn, which may force an exchange of queens. I mean, he doesn't have to capture, because his queen is actually defended there. So am I really threatening? So I think after this one, we'll go over this game another time, and just identify those basic problems. Okay, so he's blocked now the threat on the queen. Interesting move. Okay, I'm going to develop my bishop now. And if he takes, I can recapture with my knight and develop my knight. So you see, he's already put one move into this bishop. If he moves it again to capture, and now it... Okay, we have a problem. We have a problem. That bishop is attacked twice and only defended once. Plus, this comes with check. So that's not good. So now he's in check, and his queen is under threat. If queen takes, I've got knight takes, so that's not really possible. So he's going to have to block the check, or move the king. Neither of which is ideal. I'm also looking at an undefended pawn here, since that bishop came flying out. Okay, I'm going to capture that with check, because it's free stuff. And now, what's next? I think rude not to throw in a check here. I've violated a lot of principles myself in this game, but my opponent has offered me tactical opportunities, and when your opponent offers you tactical opportunities, the right thing to do is to take them. I have a check here, which will force the king out one more time. I would also like to complete development, so I'm going to develop my knight here with tempo, attacking the queen. Back to principles, everyone. And here again we are unafraid. I'm plus 10 in material. Wow. So where can his queen go? Can't stay there, or there, or there. Okay, that's a thought. He's kind of attacking this pawn, but guess what? It's defended, so I'm going to go ahead and castle, and that would be a huge error. What you really need to do is bring your other big guns into the game, i.e. that rook. Okay, good. So he's developed his knight. Nice to see. Right, I have another check here, which now can't be blocked by anything. So now the king is going to have to move. If the king stays on the back rank, there's a risk of skewering the king and losing the rook. I can also hit the queen with tempo, preparing to develop my bishop. So I have to move one of these pawns to develop my light squared bishop. Okay, my opponent's in check. What's he going to do? abandoned the game by the look of things. Where have you gone, mate? What's going on? It's not like there's a lot of different moves to think about. That's not possible. He's only got 3 possible moves. Then I do like this idea. This is like a multi-purpose move. You know, I'm hitting the queen, so the queen has to move, and I'm creating a space for my bishop. Okay, so I'm going to do this move now. Yeah, get my bishop probably here, aiming at this corner. I do also have a check with a fork, but the king could move. Okay, that simply blunders the queen, so undefended piece must be taken. Very, very basic blunders that we're seeing, but we all make them. They get a lot rarer as you improve and get more experienced. Okay, we have now, let's deliver check with the bishop and thereby connecting the rooks and completing development here on move 20. Which is good. Okay, I have a couple of checks now. I'm gonna use the queen here. I think that's the right way to go about it. Can't go. Right, that doesn't actually work because I've got 2 attackers, so I can now just capture straight away. Good on my opponent for sticking it out till the bitter end. It's nice to see. Appreciate that. So, and that is mate. Right, supported queen right next to the king on the back rank. Absolutely mate. Okay, so there we go. So, a quick review just of this game now. And it started out very, very normal. Until this move, until move 3. And, okay, he didn't need to move the knight at all. His only thought right now should be, if I'm not in danger, let's develop. It's not a free pawn, it's protected by a knight, so you can't have it. Okay, and we've already gone Pete Tong at that point. Now I'm already kind of tempted to break from principle. I could also have moved my knight here, but I decided to develop my queen, which is kind of unprincipled, but I'm already up a knight. And now I'm forced to move the knight because it's attacked by a pawn. And this, again, just loses a piece. It's a pointless attack, hitting the queen, but drops the pawn. That is not an attack. And you can see here already, this is move 7. And my opponent is already in some distress. Already a piece down, for no benefit whatsoever. King's in check. He's got pieces out in the board, completely undefended. Not very nice situation. He moves his developed piece a second time, which is something that we've seen. Hangs a pawn. Hangs another pawn. And attacking the kind of pinned piece, but it's not really pinned. And this was just again, an issue of not counting attackers and defenders. So I think counting attackers and defenders is something that is maybe not so much of an issue for, I would say, the absolute beginner level, the up to 500, 600, something like that, but definitely becomes more important, and it is a skill that you need to practice. Here, he should have simply retired the bishop to safety, right? He puts it there on a square that I'm controlling twice, and he's defending only once, so he loses the bishop, again with check. He blocks with the rook instead of simply retreating the king. So he's pinning his own rook and offering it in return for a lowly bishop. Not a good idea. And then it's pretty much all over very quickly from that point. So I get this move with tempo, and he just simply blunders his queen. So there's not much more we need to look at from that perspective. But the absolute bottom line Here, if you are playing with the white pieces, right, and you're thinking about this, sanity check, sanity check, sanity check, sanity check, right? We all need to be doing this on every single move, but before you drop that knight on that pawn, just scan the whole board and check whether it's a dumb move. This is something that I've been working on, and I've been playing a bunch of blitz games as well recently, but really trying to do that sanity check on every single move, and it's definitely helping, right? Even at 1400 blitz or whatever. I think I'm about 1390 at blitz at the moment, but it's definitely helping, and you know, my game is certainly benefiting from that. So whatever level you're on now, right, and everyone's kind of, depending on your level of experience, your definition of a dumb move will vary, because you'll be able to see more potential tactics the more experienced you get. But at the very least, if I put my knight there, can anything take it for free? Well, the answer here is yes, so don't play the move. Right? Apart from anything else, your job here is to keep developing your minor pieces, right? And there's a reason why that is not a book move. All right, everyone. So there you go. Welcome to the beginning of the speed run. I've certainly enjoyed this first video on it, and looking forward to continuing. So see you all soon.